Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our first ever Data Apps Conference. We have a jam-packed half-day lineup for you. Sessions from customers and partners, expert tutorials by Sigma's Best, a keynote from our CEO, Mike Palmer, and of course, our Appathon, a friendly competition to see what our community can build with Sigma. If you're new to Sigma, Sigma gives you the building blocks to create anything with your data, supporting any process or workflow you can imagine. Some people start their day off with coffee. I start mine off with Sigma. I'm Luke Stanke, and my typical job at Sigma is to connect the work of our product teams to our sales and marketing. One recurring task for me is managing my team's budget, a constant balancing act of reconciling planned spend to actuals. Before I worked at Sigma, this meant juggling multiple spreadsheets, emailing half the company for updates, and pulling numbers from every system under the sun. Sigma uses Sigma's Writeback capabilities to manage this. We can update, reconcile, and act on live data all in one place. And we're not the only ones leveraging this power. We have more than 1,300 customers doing it today. Over the next few hours, you'll hear stories from our customers and partners about how they're building powerful data apps. You'll hear from customers like ConAgra doing demand planning in Sigma, to DoorDash, which uses Sigma to run its compensation planning. You'll also hear from our consulting partners certified by Sigma to help you build data apps as fast as possible. Let's get started.
Hello, everyone. I'm Stipo, Director of Product at Sigma. And every morning as I brew my coffee, I ask myself, what's next? What's next for analytics, for software, and for how we work with data? Today, we build software to automate every critical operation. We build databases to scale with data, and we build dashboards to try and make sense of what's going on. The job in analytics has been to make the journey of big data insights easy, approachable, and intuitive. And we've made great strides. We moved from static dashboards to interactive dashboards to ad hoc spreadsheet exploration. But what happens after the insights? How do you take action? How do you coordinate people? That's where Sigma's data applications come in. We've expanded our platform to unite real-time data, workflows, and human inputs. So you can do more than just consume insights. You can build applications that let you take the next step. Now let me hand it off to Ruchi to explain how Sigma makes data apps possible.
Hi, I'm Ruchi Pandya, a product manager at Sigma. Stipo introduced the concept of data apps, an impactful way to combine real-time data, workflows, and human input to drive action. But what makes Sigma the perfect platform to build them? Let's explore key components that make it possible. First is Writeback. It actually all starts with Writeback. Writeback is the core Sigma functionality that lets you collect new data, augment existing data, and write it back to your cloud data warehouse through a form or a spreadsheet, all without ever leaving Sigma. Second, application layouts. Sigma empowers you to build the experience that fits your process. With customizable layouts like modals and tab containers, you can design intuitive workflows that match your team's expectations. It's all about giving you flexibility and maintaining simplicity. Third is Actions Framework. This is where everything comes together, and you can automate process steps such as updating systems or triggering entire processes, all with a single click. This is where Sigma makes data truly interactive, allowing you to create app-like experiences. Finally, we have AI and ML integration. You can easily integrate AI models from your cloud data warehouse through simple functions, making advanced analytics accessible while maintaining data governance and security. Think of these components that, when combined, act as recipes for the team to build data apps quickly from the cloud data warehouse. Now let's see how all these things come together.
Hey, Ruchi, so glad I caught you. I want to show you this demand planning app that I put together. Do you have a second?
Yeah, actually, I was just talking about data apps. Want to walk me through it?
Yeah, absolutely. Instead of managing my business around spreadsheets, I can now manage my business in a purpose-built application designed around my organization's unique processes. Let's take demand planning, for example. Using Sigma's new action framework, I can create a templatized forecast connected to live data in a single click of a button. I can fill out the forecast through either a free-form text entry, or I can use a form for assisted entry. Using chained actions, we can even automate an end-to-end approval flow where I can submit completed forecasts to leadership for review. For those with approval permissions, they can view submitted forecasts, or they can promote forecasts by either approving, denying, or requesting a change. Completing the approval lifecycle, we can even conditionally lock down cells where no further edits can be made. The best part of all of this was all built using Sigma's simple action framework using click, snap, code. As a workbook author, I can specify exactly what actions I want to occur when a user makes a selection. For example, on this approval button, we are both updating a row where I can specify exactly what columns to change. And then once that's completed, we can also instruct Sigma to close that modal, bringing the user back to their workbook for further actions. I am so excited to see all the new and exciting ways our customers are going to leverage this experience to improve their business operations.
Those are some pretty powerful features. Can you tell me a little bit about what kinds of customers are building data apps in Sigma with this use case?
Absolutely. So almost every single customer can get value from using data apps in their use cases because every single customer has sales forecasting in some capacity, right? But the ones that are getting the most value out of this are the ones that are using that in Excel and Google Sheets for the most part. And the reason for that is just a lot of work to do that manual process. So what we're able to do is automate that from end to end so they can do sales forecasting more quickly and more efficiently. So imagine if you're an organization and you can only do sales forecasting every 6 months or every month. Now we can do it every week, which allows them to be more accurate in their sales forecasting.
That's awesome. That's a huge win. What should builders be the most excited about when building data apps in Sigma?
Yeah, so you can probably tell in the sound of my voice, I'm extremely passionate about data apps. What this allows us to do now is really take off the confines of traditional BI. Whereas before, all we could do is read from a warehouse, we can actually interact with it and write back. And what that allows us to do is kind of take down the paradigms of what we thought was possible. So what really has me excited about this is the fact that I don't do any coding. I couldn't build data application. So now with Sigma's clever UI interface, really the sky's the limit. So I'm kind of building off of new workflows that really just add value to the organization.
Amazing. I'm really excited about this.
Me too. I'm actually showing this to another company right now, so I gotta run. Mind if I take this?
Sure.
All right. See ya.
Bye.
Oh, that looks good. Would you make me one? Meanwhile, I'll show you a data app I've been whipping up.
Yeah, that would be great. I just heard from Ian how he's been using Sigma to build a fully fledged data app. I'd love to learn what you built too.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, I'm excited to show you. So this application is really exciting because it gives marketing teams an efficient and standardized way to plan and track their activities, budget, and impact. I am currently logged in as an individual contributor on the field event team. I have two options for entering data. I can either add or edit data, just like I might in a spreadsheet, or I can use this pop-up modal to add new events using a form. We are also using modals here to give visibility into important metrics, such as how much budget we have left to spend. After entering the information about my planned activities, I'm going to map our invoice data to those activities. You can see when I click on Assign, a modal pops up, and I can simply choose the relevant event from the dropdown and then add any notes or comments. On this last tab here, I have robust analytics telling me how many dollars my team has left to spend and what funds we've allocated to date. At the bottom, I can see the delta between our planned and actual expenses, as well as the impact we've had in terms of SQLs generated. As you know, Rushi, analytics are an important component of any data application. And while this page doesn't leverage forms or modals itself, the analytics we see here were only made possible because of what we did on the prior two pages. Now let me switch to the manager view. And you can see here there's two additional tabs that are only available to the manager. This page allows managers to track how each team is doing according to their original budget and reallocate funds as necessary. On the last tab, the manager can add or remove users from the application altogether. So you can see forms and modals can even be used to create a nice UI for things like user management or confirmation messages.
Wow, so you used modals and forms to create this marketing app? What was the complexity and how long did it take you to build?
Yeah, I absolutely did use forms and modals to build this. But the app also allows people to enter data through a spreadsheet interface if they prefer. That's actually one of the things I really love about this application. It allows for different types of standardized data entry, such as via forms, via spreadsheets, or choosing from data-driven lists. It also doesn't just leverage modals for forms, but also for things like pop-up data visualizations, as well as confirmation messages. I'd say it took me about 2 days, and honestly, the biggest complexity was working with marketing data, which is notoriously unwieldy.
Nice, 2 days, that's pretty fast.
Yeah, it really was.
What kind of software did folks use before to complete processes like this?
Outside of Sigma, organizations basically have 2 options. They can either buy a departmental solution like Uptempo, or they can manage the process in spreadsheet tools like Excel or Google Sheets. The problem with point solutions is they're expensive, typically only used by a handful of people, and often don't allow for the full flexibility and customizations that teams really need. Meanwhile, managing these processes in a spreadsheet means very little standardization, very little governance, and basically no integration with other tools. With Sigma, you get an enterprise solution with the full flexibility to adapt workflows and user interfaces to meet your team's needs, as well as the fine-tuned standardization and governance. Plus, it's completely integrated with your cloud data warehouse. So really a win all around.
That's awesome. What advice do you have for new Sigma data apps builders, or me?
So really, because Sigma is such an incredibly flexible tool, I really encourage builders to just have a lot of fun and get super creative. But at the same time, I want to encourage them to make sure they test their solutions with stakeholders to figure out what works best. Because just like a good chef, you can cook up anything you want, but it's the menu items that people love that will keep them coming back for more.
Amazing, so glad you came by.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks for the coffee. Now I need to go get ready for my presentation at the Data Apps Conference. I'll see you there.
Yeah, absolutely. See you soon.
Hey, that looked good.
I'm just about to make one for myself. Would you care for one too?
Yes, please.
Okay, awesome. Why don't you show me a data app in the meantime?
All right, I've got one for pipeline forecasting. This is a Sigma data app that helps sales teams reduce risk in their pipeline and forecast more accurately. I'll roleplay as Ella, who manages a team of AEs. This overview section has all the functionality that you'd expect, like KPIs, action items, and a forecast input section. Each level of the sales org has its own view, so Ella can view her team's scenarios, add her own, and compare the two. Let's click into Inspect James's deals. The deal board shows Ella live data about all of her team's deals and allows her to make forecasts for each one. But sales leaders have to bounce between so many tools to get an accurate picture of a deal, and that's painful. Since Sigma is connected to the cloud data warehouse, the app can pull in all these different data sources and save Ella some time. But there are always those questions that can only be answered by reading notes or watching recordings. So what if the team had a RAG model that did just that? Well, Ella can interact with that model from Sigma. Let's see if we've talked pricing yet with Comitosphere. And just like that, Ella's question is answered, and she can make a fully informed forecast. So with Sigma, we can enhance the pipeline forecasting process with more data sources, a more efficient workflow, and the power of AI.
Wow, so you built all the functionality of a SaaS app? What makes this better than other approaches?
Yeah, for me, it's a few things. The first is that I'm able to consolidate tools. So if I have teams that are using Salesforce and Clary and another tool to do pipeline forecasting, I can consolidate that all into Sigma. On top of that, I can build exactly what I want and what my teams need because of how flexible Sigma is. And then thirdly, I'm able to incorporate AI in whatever way makes sense for my teams and my workflow.
So what kind of organizations and teams use this workflow today?
Yeah, so any sales team, big or small, whatever data they have, they can use this because Sigma is flexible and allows them to build whatever kind of workflow they want.
And what makes you the most excited about building data apps in Sigma?
Oh, that's tough. For me, I think it's the flexibility of Sigma. I can build really powerful apps really quickly without writing code, and that makes it easy for me to iterate and deliver value to my teams really quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's really exciting. I'm so glad you shared that with me, and thanks for stopping by.
Thank you, and thanks for the coffee.
Yeah, absolutely. Have a good one.
So now you've seen a few examples of what you can build, and maybe you've already got a few ideas brewing. If so, that's awesome. If not, stay tuned. That's exactly why we're here. So here's what's coming up. Customer presentations where you'll see how apps are used in the wild already. Partner data app sessions to hear how analytics leaders tackle their industry problems. Sigma on Sigma sessions where you can see some of the apps Sigma uses to run our business. A virtual hands-on lab so you can build your first data app. And a data apps bake-off where you'll see just how fast these apps can be built. We're really glad you could join us, and we can't wait to see what you create. Let's get started.